Hey everybody! Welcome to a monster review. God, I haven't done this in like 3 months now, but whatever, it's fine. Today we're going to be looking at Iguanazaur, the new race monster that's coming out. When's race again? I genuinely don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, he is a thunder attacker, and we're looking at him on the Monster Legends competitive wiki. If you guys want a link to that, it'll be in the description below. It has a lot of good information. You should probably check it out. This is a shameless plug. I know I'm part of the ranking council here, but you gotta look at it if you want to learn the game. But in all seriousness, this monster it's really disappointing in my opinion. First off, he's not a water monster. And that is an issue because water is one of the most underrepresented elements right now. Meaning that it doesn't get a lot of love in wars. Wars are really difficult if you don't have a monster like Ondana. So the fact that he's a lightning monster and not a water monster is kind of annoying. But it is what it is, I guess. We'll tolerate it for now, I guess. So looking at his let's look at his traits. His trait, first of all, is what caught my attention because it's not very great. It seems like everybody's getting stun immunity. I'm guessing that's because Social Point is trying and failing to kill Grakon. So he does have stun immunity. He does have Harden. So it's gonna be kind of difficult to deny him. Harden can turn the tide on a match very easily. So Harden is a very good trait to have. Then we have stun immunity again. They're just trying to kill off Grakon at this point, but they really can't. So he does have stun immunity, which is fine. It's a decently common form of deny, so he does have some form of protection there, which is okay. And true vision, which I don't know what he's gonna do with it, like land tortures, I guess. This is kind of a weird monster to have true vision on. I'm guessing it's because he does have a freeze move. He does have a deny move, so I'm guessing because it's a 50% chance of applying freeze. So I'm guessing that's to help land that, and kind of nerf it in a way that he doesn't actually have a denying move as an attacker, which is fine. Yeah, there's not much to say there. He does have 2 decent relics for an attacker. He does have a sword and an armor. Sword is really good. You can put like a laser beam sword on him or a cane sword if you really wanted to. So sword is always great to have on an attacker, especially. Then he does get armor, so you can put like Morg's armor or Thades armor if you want to do some denial with him. Some decent relic slots, not too bad. Now we'll look at his stats. His power is, I think it's the highest in the game. As a matter of fact, I'm almost certain it is the highest in the game right now. Which is good because that means he does hit hard. But if you have watched Armor Gaming's video, he doesn't hit as hard as a newer monster, Undead Mr. Beast. Because like he said, the move damage isn't as important, or the monster power stat isn't as important as the move damage. So, he does have a high power stat, but he doesn't really take advantage of it in a way that would make it so that he's overly broken. So I don't understand what the point of giving him such a high power stat was if he wasn't the highest damaging monster in the game, but it is what it is. So yeah, his life is okay. Like it's just attacker life. I think it's a little higher than Vanos's. And his speed is pretty decent, I'd say, for an attacker as well. So his stats are, his power is really good, his life is okay for an attacker, and his speed is just kind of, it's kind of average for such a heavy hitter monster, but it's on the slower side. So we'll look at his moves. First we have Frozen Vengeance. Deals low water damage to one enemy, 50% chance of applying freeze to one enemy. Very good move because it doesn't have a cooldown. So 50% chance of denying plus a little bit of water damage. It's a good move to override CDA. Of course, you're gonna have trouble facing monsters with freeze immunity like Ignis, or I'd say Ignis is probably the only one right now that has a prevalent freeze immunity, and I'm pretty sure it's AoE as well. So facing against Ignis, this is going to be not a move that you might want to run. unless you have a trait disabler like Tabora. But in this case, I'd probably just switch the attackers at this point, because Tabora works better with something like Solar Flare. But yeah, you got Frozen Vengeance, 50% chance of applying freeze to one enemy, which is good. It's a decent move. I would run it personally because I like that denial. Being able to deny as an attacker is a very good asset. So you could use him as like a secondary, in quotes, denier, which is decent. It makes him a little bit more versatile, which is something that he needs, considering that he's kind of disappointing. So we got Son of the Boltcaster, deals low thunder damage to one enemy, applies shock to one enemy, also without cooldown. We're gonna have to see his stamina costs. His stamina costs haven't come out yet, I believe. Or have they? I think Armor Gaming made in his video showed the stamina costs, but they're not here yet. I'd have to go to the other wiki for that. So yeah, low thunder damage to one enemy, shock, which is fine. Shock isn't really that useful unless you're facing a monster like Nor. And in that situation, I'd probably just run Hardy over Iguanazaur, to be honest with you, to get those extra turns in. Like, the thing is, Iguanazaur, the deal with Iguanazaur is that he is a potent attacker, but he brings nothing new to the table in terms of gimmicks, because Hardy has his anticipation. We got monsters like Nora with extra turns. We have Solar Flare, who's a tank attacker hybrid. Like, all these monsters have some form of gimmick, while this guy just brings nothing new to the table. Like, even Heist has immunity to control, which is decent, or not decent. It's really good, but each of these monsters has their own gimmick, and I feel like this guy doesn't really bring a lot of new stuff to the table besides such a high power stat, which you can't really take advantage of because his move power is on the lower side. So yeah, shock, not really a great dot. It's not a great torture unless you want to stop an extra turn attacker, and in that case, I'll just run Hardy because he's a lot more useful. He hits harder, I believe. And if he doesn't hit harder, then that's fine, because he gets more turns if you're against an extra turner. So I wouldn't really use him for the shock, to be honest with you. So we'll look at Smash of the Worthy. Deals moderate water damage to one enemy, applies Drowned. Drowned is a very good dot, but it's just moderate water damage and a dot. That's all it is. Nothing too interesting there. Ondana can do the same thing. Like I said, doesn't bring a lot of stuff to the table. It requires cooldown, so it's not even spammable. So it's a good move in its own right, but like, moderate water damage, that's what, 35 AoE, 35 damage AoE, which is fine. It's average. Then we got the Scourge of Thades, deals moderate water damage to one enemy, applies water weakness to one enemy. This water weakness is pretty good. The thing is, it can get removed, and I know getting removed is a bad argument for why a skill shouldn't be run, but we're starting to see a lot more positive effects removal in the meta right now. So this is kind of a hit or miss. If you want to run this, run it. Did I say positive effects removal? I meant negative effects removal. So we're starting to see a lot of them now, a lot more than it was before. So I wouldn't really. It's kind of an unreliable move to run. It really just depends on what team you're facing off against. So the fact that it deals moderate water damage is good, because it doesn't mean that it only applies water weakness. It has a secondary use, which it can be useful. So it's a move that it's a hit or miss whether I would run it or not. As opposed to Frozen Vengeance, which has that secondary deny, which I feel is more useful than just water weakness. And he does hit hard anyways, so water weakness isn't really a necessity, I'd say. But it is what it is. It's a decent move. Again, these moves are decent in their own right. It's just not a lot of variety in terms of gimmicks, I'd say, which makes him slightly less useful than all the other the other attackers. So we got Scourge of Thades, deals moderate water damage to one enemy, applies water weakness to one enemy. It's just the same as the top one, but not AoE, so I guess this is just area dodge. This is for area dodge, but in this case, you're going to be able to one-shot a lot of area dodge monsters anyways. So why would you run this move? I'm not too sure. I wouldn't run it personally. I'd run the AoE one if you're going to take up a slot. So, you know, not really a move that I would personally run. I don't see the use for it. Area dodge isn't really all that prevalent right now. So I would run, instead of that single target move, I'd run another single target move to take care of area dodge on the first turn instead of just applying water damage or water weakness and then, you know, hitting them afterwards, which is kind of counterintuitive. So we got Bane of the Giants, applies damage boost to himself, applies immunity to freeze to himself. This is a good move. Really good move. Again, it can be removed, so it's, again, another unreliable move to run. Not a lot of monsters use... Yes, that is English. Not a lot of monsters use freeze right now. The only ones that I can think of are Slugazoid, which isn't seen at all, and Heinrich, who is... Yeah, he's good, but I don't see him used a lot. Especially in the top 1000, you're going to be seeing monsters like Lindworm or Kodama. But if you do face off against the Heinrich, he can give you issues, which is why this would be an okay move to run. Personally, I'd take something else over it, because I personally don't use damage boosting moves on my attackers, but that's just my playstyle. Other people can have different playstyles, so it really comes down to what your playstyle is, what moves you'll run based on that. But you know, that damage boost is always nice, the immunity to freeze is always nice. It's not really a move that has drawbacks, so you know, it'd be okay to run. I personally wouldn't, but again, it depends on your playstyle. So next we have Stormbreaker, deals moderate thunder damage to all enemies, applies shock to all enemies. This is the Son of Boltcaster, but just better, I'd say. Again, you're not going to be needing to shock the enemy area dodge monster, so I would take the AoE over the single target any day. As long as you have a single target move in your arsenal, you should be fine against area dodge. You know, it's not really... I'd take the AoE over the single target, basically. I don't really think that the... Because the reason that there are two varieties of the same move is to bypass area dodge. That's the only reason, because or else, you know, it'd just be different moves. So there's really no point in running this against area dodge, since you're going to be able to one-shot them anyways. So it's not like you're going to need to apply shock and then one-shot them. You're going to just need to one-shot them. So, you know, I'd run the AoE over the single target. I feel like it would give you more coverage in terms of monsters that you're able to hit. Again, not a lot of people are running area dodge anymore. The usage of area dodge has gone down quite a bit, considering that Vanos and now the new monster, I forget her name, the new Pierce monster is going to be Rusalka. It's going to be incredibly powerful, and incredibly overused. So there's really no reason to run the single target over the AoE. So where were we? We got For My Father, deals heavy water damage to all enemies, applies drown to all enemies, applies water weakness to all enemies. This I would run over, what is it, Scourge of Thades? I'd run this over Scourge of Thades, which also applies water weakness, right? Yeah. So half of his moves are useless. That's another thing that I need to point out. Half of his moves are useless because you're either going to be one-shotting the enemy area dodge, or you're just going to be hitting a monster that can be hit with area dodge. And even against Megataunt, you're gonna be able to hit him for triple the damage if you use an AoE skill as opposed to just a normal single target skill. So there's really no reason to run the single target variation of the move. to be completely frank. But yeah, For My Father, this is a really decent move. Applies drown to all enemies, applies water weakness to all enemies. That can help with damage boost, and also applies a really good damage over time. Drowned is one of the better tortures in this game. So yeah, I'd run this move. This is a really good move. This is one of his best moves in my opinion, because it does what all of these moves want to do, but all just in one move. You got the water weakness and you got the drown in one move, which is really good. Then you got water going for the head. Why did I say water? I don't know. We got water again. Yes, that's the one. We got going for the head. Going for the head deals very heavy thunder damage to one enemy, applies shock to one enemy, applies thunder weakness to all enemies. Very good move. Again, it's going for the head, but you can apply shock to the enemy and apply thunder weakness to all the enemies, which means that going for the head not really required. It means that, what is it, Son of the Bolt Caster isn't really required, unless you want that 0 cooldown option, in which case run the 0 cooldown skills. But to be honest with you, I'd rather have a monster that is slightly susceptible to CDA behind a Mega Taunt so that he can do his thing without having to worry about having his cooldowns activated. Not a lot of monsters can remove positive effects and apply CDA. Which is why I think he's very good when behind a Megaton. If you put him behind a Megaton, he's going to hit really hard, he's going to hit really, not fast, but he's going to hit really hard. You got the Thunder weakness, you got the Water weakness, you got a bunch of other stuff that is really good for increasing his water or his raw damage output. Then you got the damage boost as well, you can apply that, you can just stack the damage boosts, which means he's going to hit pretty hard. So yeah, he does hit really hard, but again, I don't see him, like I see him being used a lot because he's a race monster and people are going to get him at a high rank, but I really don't see him being too dangerous per se. You got Harden's stun immunity. Harden's going to be kind of annoying, but not really a game changer, well, depending on how lucky you are. Stun immunity, which is, it's decent, but not a lot of monsters run stun. The only one that I can think of right now is a Trox, and he's not really all that great. Another one, Grakon, but again, he's not seen as much as he used to be, so you'll only really need to worry about that when you do end up seeing him at some point, but you're not going to be seeing him as frequently as he was used before. So that stun immunity, not really all that effective right now. Once more stun monsters come into play, we'll see, but stun immunity, stun isn't really all that used. But yeah, he's a strange case. He's a strange case. He does have the gimmick of like water weakness and thunder weakness, all those damage boosts, but they're not as effective as, say, a Black Feather Hardy combo. You got the water weakness that can be removed. You got the damage boost, which can be removed. So he does have gimmicks, but they're not reliable, like at all. Honestly, like, he's not really looking all too insane right now. He does hit hard, but again, Mr. Beast hits harder. And he does have better gimmicks. He does have that self-sustain, which he can use to just survive longer than Iguanazaur. Again, Hardened is the only redeeming quality that I see in him, as well as that power stat, but everything else is just kind of lackluster. I'd suggest going for him in the race still, just so you can get him for wars, but like, I don't think he's going to be seen too much in high-level PvP, which is what matters. Obviously, if you're in a lower league, he's going to be very solid. Not a lot of counters to him going lower down the ladder. But in higher leagues, there's really not a lot that he can do that other monsters can't do better, or there's not a lot of gimmicks that he can outclass with his own, right? So there's really no reason to use him over other monsters. You got Heis, which hits decently hard, and he can apply the fire weakness. He's going to be hitting a lot of stuff in 2 shots. Just like this guy, I don't think Iguanazaur is going to be able to one-shot a lot of things. So just that little bit of extra damage isn't really all that significant in the grand scheme of things. And honestly, like, yeah, I don't really like him. I don't like him. As opposed to the new monster Risaka, who's coming out in a little bit, who I really like and I will be doing a review on. But Iguanazaur right now, not really all that great. Not looking too dangerous right now. High-level PvP is going to have a blast facing him. He'll get toppled very easily, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. If you have a different opinion, leave it in the comments. With that being said, I think I'm going to end it here. If you like this video, like the video. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. I'm going to be posting more monster reviews and more stuff, more memes, all of that. in the coming whenever. We're gonna be posting that. So yeah, stay tuned. This has been Sen, reviewing what I think is one of the most underwhelming monsters so far. And signing off. Laters.